Well, good morning. Live from the somewhat less than hot West Coast. It is me. Hey guys, let's just pop this here and take a look at this. Gale, Licentian Cattywampus, Emmanuel, Epsy from Hell. Good morning, my friends. Good morning. It is Saturday morning. And here we are. And before I get to the live gameplay screen, I'm going to ask you guys for a little bit of help. I've got a new Be Right Back screen, and I'm going to pop it here. And I just want to get you guys feedback on the volume levels on this to see if they need to be adjusted. So let me just pop this for a second. Oh, well, that ain't good. Let's adjust that chat box, shall we? That'll go there for the time being. I need to increase the size. Okay, that'll do for the time being. All right, music is drowning me out. Okay, let's turn this music off for the time being. All right. Now, do we hear what's going on there? Is that pretty loud? If I weren't talking. So basically, doing the Be Right Back sequence where I tend to lose about half my viewers every week. All right, we'll be playing these backgrounds. Ronnie, good morning. Okay, let's catch up. All right, live. There we have it. You don't think that the music will help keep them here? What? Are you kidding me? I think everybody loves good music. Speaking of which, let's get some going in the background, shall we? That might be a nice little touch for our morning. What shall we listen to? Hey, there we go. I've got a playlist that I'm going to play here, I think. Nope. Or not. Who knows? I don't know. Game music will be fine for the moment. I think we'll haul with it on that one. Led Zeppelin. Yeah, Zeppelin's just one of those heavy metal bands I say heavy metal, rock bands that I can't listen to very much anymore. I used to love me some Zeppelin back in the day, but I kind of burned out on classic rock because they're not making any new stuff. And honestly, I used to have this fight at work with a guy who thought that Led Zeppelin was easily the greatest rock band of all time, and I tried to convince him that Soundgarden was a better one. I'm a very big Soundgarden fan. I think that rock and roll music had me with the 60s and 70s. Rock and roll music lost me in the 80s with the hair bands. And then rock and roll got me back in the 90s with grunge. I'm a big grunger from way back. I'm a grunge enjoyer. I've owned more copies of Pearl Jam 10 than almost any other album. Yeah, Caddy, you love your hair bands. I know that much. Oh, there's Licentian. Let's grab Licentian here and invite to party. Licentian looking very stylish today. Wow, look at that. Pretty slick. All right. Yeah, no, I couldn't do the hair bands in the 80s. The hair bands really just lost me. Poison, Wasp. I don't know. I just couldn't do that stuff. Yeah, Defiant Glass for the win, for sure. Those Defiant Glass weapons are really cool. Aren't they like super cheap right now on the trading post? Let's take a look at that. Kicks was amazing. Caddy really pulling out the awful 80s hairbands. I don't know. It was Poison. I had a stepbrother when I was a kid. So we're talking about what? 87, 88 at this point, and he was very into that genre, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I was like looking at these guys going, holy crap, are you kidding me? But yeah, let's take a look. Defiant glass skins. Yeah, the Defiant glass skins are fairly cheap right now. I think they're an uncommon drop out of the Black Lion chest. So if you are looking for some of those are some really, really nice skins. To give you guys an idea, if you don't have that shield is made of win. Because you watch that, it kind of cycles through the other colors and stuff. It's pretty nice. I doubt it, Gail. I doubt it highly. I mean, we won't compare, but yeah, no. I don't think you're old enough to be my mom. My mom, speaking of which, managed to return from her trip across the country. She drove across the country for the last few weeks. It was kind of cool. What else happened this week? Oh yeah, hey, big Guild Wars 2 news. Tuesday we get our Steam launch. That's going to be a really big deal. That is going to be a really big deal. And to that end, those of you guys who are hanging out here, I will be streaming on Tuesday, kind of do on Tuesday for the big Steam launch. Thought we'd just hang around, maybe look at some of the new builds that are going to come out with that new balance patch, and just generally horse around. But I think I will hard carry the YouTube streaming while everybody else is on Twitch. Yeah, on YouTube for sure. I prefer the YouTube streaming. And I'll be honest with you, it's just because y'all showed up for the YouTube stuff. As Caddy can attest, I did try and stream on Twitch a few times and ended up talking to an empty microphone for a couple of hours on each one. But by sharp contrast, when I started streaming on YouTube, y'all showed up and it was awesome. The other thing about YouTube is it allows me to do some things. It allows me to keep everything in the same place, which I really like. And I'm never going to be a big Twitch streamer streaming for 2 hours a week, etc. With the content that we do here. It's just something I do to kind of hang out with you guys, so I'm not going to worry about that. We'll hang out on Tuesday if any of you guys are really interested. I'll be here when the patch launches, probably about a half hour first. Caddy losing her mind with her Condi Rev there. Wow. Fantastic. What else happened this week? Yours truly got permanently banned from the Guild Wars 2 forums. Not happy. Very happy about that. Take a bit of issue with the reason why I got permanently banned, but we won't get too far into it. Probably better. Yeah, boo forums indeed. Boo forums indeed. I suggested that somebody's nonsense was probably doing more harm to their side of the argument than good, and that was it. That was my last moment. Yeah, their loss. Absolutely. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I took a day or two to kind of think it over, and then I realized this is not a hill I'm willing to die on. Their house, their rules. I know they have not been happy with the way that I express myself in the past. So whatever. If I feel the need to talk about it, I'll go talk about it on Reddit. Or here on my streams. So there is that. But I think the Steam launch is kind of the big stuff, so I kind of throw this out there at you guys this week. About what you guys think about this Steam launch. I think it's kind of a big deal for the game. It is potentially a big deal for the game anyways. I'm not exactly sure how big it will work out in the long run. I think it's particularly interesting. Epsy says, thanks for the SWOTOR recommendation. It's an amazing story experience. Absolutely agree, Epsy. Even those introductory story arcs are just so absolutely incredible. I'll give you guys a kind of an idea about it. If you've never played Star Wars: The Old Republic, you would very much like in this game go through a class quest, but it really the story does gate your progress. You can't get off the intro planet without doing it, etc. You are hard gated by the story progress. But as the story elements come up, you'll get like story choices. You'll get like choices about what you're going to say, very much like other BioWare games. And not only are those stories really well written, but I think the story interaction just takes it to the next level. Um, let's see. I won't pay another $100 on Steam and lose all my legendaries. I mean, really. I mean, I won't, but you know what? I'm just going to put this out there. At my last job, where obviously there were a lot of gamers around, a lot of them wouldn't actually even try Guild Wars 2 without a Steam version. You know, Steam is just so much part of the gaming ecosystem these days. And they wouldn't even get into it. It's like, well, when it's on Steam, let me know. I'd like to try it out. When they made the announcement, about a year and a half ago, they were all like, when's it coming? I want to come and try it and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I think that there's a lot of people. That are really interested. Can you give a thumbnail sketch of what the benefits of Steam will be? Let me see if I can do that. I think that this is really good. So let me actually just, how would we do a thumbnail sketch? We would open our Paint app, and then we would add our Paint app to this scene. Let me just try and do that. And we will try a screen capture. We will add the source. We will create a new source. And we will add it. And then we will put this in here. And we will say done. And there we have it. All over your screens is MS Paint. All right. So let's see. Here is the sketch. Here are players. And they are here. And then we say plus Steam. We all love my absolutely amazing art skills equals. And then what we will do is we will grab our selection tool. Okay. And let us make sure. Lycention, thank you very much for the super chat. I'll read that here in a moment. I'm just going to absolutely make sure that I'm doing this correctly before I mess everything up. Let's see. Whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't play ads. All right. Okay, that's good. So now I put these guys in, and these guys in, and these guys in. And this is the benefit of Steam. More people. That is the idea. So there you have it, my friends. A very quick demonstration on the value of Steam. Let us put my chat back up and catch back up with it. Can you get, there's their thumbnail set. I tried SWOTOR. I did the same thing I'm doing in GW2. I had to make one of everything. Gail, absolutely to your benefit in Star Wars: The Old Republic. The class story, the main stories are class specific. So the smuggler story is different than, say, the trooper story is, say, different than the Imperial agent story, etc. And they are all so flippin' good. Cattywampus, mind, I'm spamming the crap out of your channel to new Steam players. Just sure you know. Just warn them, Give them a warning. Ronnie says, I have too much invested in the original client, but it should be implemented with Steam. I'm on board. Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win. Let's I just flew in from Old Ascalon, and boy, my Sky Skills arms are tired. Oh dear. Bob Ross plus Mind Circus. Well, you know what? What is actually funny is I'm actually not bad with the video editing, to be honest with you guys. We will turn that off and remove that from the scene, and we will move on. I'm stoked for new players. I think it's a good. It's never a bad idea to bring new players into the game. I guess is the best way I want to put it. So every week I buy a Florida lottery scratch off, and I decided last week I would always split the loot with you, mine. So we won $40 this week, but only. Licentian gambling is bad, but thank you very much. It is absolutely appreciated. Absolutely appreciated. I really do. It humbles me when you do that. To be honest with you. For a game that doesn't like marketing, Steam will do some of that marketing for it just by being there. Yeah, Guild Wars 2 and its marketing. Oh my god. What the hell? I mean, sometimes I just want to ask them how hard it is to make a simple hype video. I can't believe some of the things that have come out for this game. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about that old Taxi video. Does anybody know what I'm talking about when I talk about the old Taxi video? Or the Ritlock one was kind of funny for the Super Adventure box, but that Guild Wars Taxi video, holy smokes, that was bad. I mean, it's just got this history of bad hype. If it motivates positive attention to the new player experience, bring it. Well, I mean, it already has, right? I mean, you saw the list of stuff they've done this week that. Oh, Ronnie, you've never seen the Taxi video? Oh, I'm half in the mind to put it on the stream right now. Maybe in a few moments. Gail, you saw that list that they put up this week of the changes that they've actually been making to the game over the last few months to kind of brush up that new player experience. Very, very interesting. Okay, whoa, you guys, none of you guys have seen this? Okay, let me see if I can find it. Give me a couple of quick seconds. Guild Wars 2 Taxi. Just do we find this? Why I quit Guild Wars 2? It was for the original hype of the game. It was really, really old. Let me just see how I would find it. It's not showing up with the Guild Wars 2. Oh, I said tax, not taxi. Okay. Here it is. Okay, I have found it. How long is this video? 4 minutes long? Okay, let me turn off the audio here. And let me just see if I can, if this is the one before anything else, and then I'll try and... Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so I will grab this and I will come into here and I'll try to play it. Plus media source. I'm learning how to do these things. Look at me. All right. Nope, not a local file. It's totally not a local file, guys. It's not a local file. What happens when I unclick this? And nope. Okay, so I'm doing this wrong. Give me one more moment. What I will do is I will try this another way. High quality content for your Saturday mornings. All right, let's try that. And let's try and add it this way. Appreciate your patience. Remove this. We will add this, and we will add a screen capture, add source, new source, add source, and there we go. Done. All right, let's see how this works. Are we full screen? Do we have...
you have set up.
Thank you.
This is the most interesting cab I've ever been in.
This is crazy. What's all this for then?
What is this?
Are you free?
I
That's
am.
pretty fancy.
Do you need a ride?
Yeah, we do actually.
Come on in. So where are you guys from?
Montreal.
Montreal.
I am from Santa Monica.
Australia and
San Francisco.
Francisco.
I'm from Amsterdam.
So do you live in LA?
No, I'm from a land called Tyria.
Oh.
Oh, Tyria. He has a Tyrian cab license.
Gotta stay official.
Yeah.
And these are the
It's real. Look,
It's where the taxis are in Tyria. How did you get this gig then?
Oh, well, this is just something I do on the side. I'm trying to save a little bit of extra coin, you know?
All right, sweet.
Yeah, I'm saving up for the Great Sword Eternity.
Was that?
The Great Sword Eternity?
Oh.
how do I get to Tyria?
We don't have cars in Tyria. We use teleportation portals.
Yeah, LA could really use some of those.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a portal?
Like to go through the traffic jams, you mean? Yeah. That'd be pretty
Exactly.
sweet.
Really cool.
You don't have that in Santa Monica, do you?
I can't teleport anywhere.
What do you do in San Francisco?
I write computer programs mostly.
I'm a comic book editor. It can get a little repetitive sometimes.
In Tyria, there's new stuff every day. I mean, it updates every 2 weeks. Sometimes islands come out of the oceans, centaurs.
You gotta watch out for the centaurs.
Oh, I heard about them.
You heard about the centaurs?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Are you scared?
I am scared of centaurs. They are half man, half horse, and 100% terrifying.
All sorts of crazy stuff.
I love it.
You never feel like you're grinding. Like, it's just something new and exciting every time. Do you have dragon invasions in New York?
We call them something different.
What do you call them in New York?
We call it the subway.
Do they charge you subscription fees to live in Santa Monica?
Hefty ones, I assure you.
Well, it depends on how you define that.
Yes, it's called rent. It is so expensive. Yeah, that's a drag.
They charge you the highest subscription fees in the country to be in New York.
In
But
Tyria, there's no subscription fees.
none.
None.
That would be nice.
You don't want to
Yeah.
keep paying every time you want to. You just want to pay and then not have to
Exactly.
worry about it anymore.
Exactly.
That is amazing. Maybe I want to live there. That's nice.
You guys should move over there, actually. That's what I recommend.
Really?
Yes.
How do you become a Tyrian? Are you born a Tyrian or?
Anybody can immigrate to Tyria. Do you think you'd ever migrate to Tyria?
Yes,
I like that
absolutely.
I want to immigrate to Tyria.
Give us the address.
You'd want to live there?
Yeah. Sounds better than Santa Monica. Sounds a lot better than Santa Monica. Except the centaurs.
I'm not sure what to tell you guys about that, to be honest with you. That was some of the original marketing material for Guild Wars 2. And yeah, that is cringe AF. I'm not sure what else to tell you guys. That actually was, there was that one. There was the one with the woman coming out of the water. Just some absolutely terrible marketing material. And that was for the original game when it first launched, when the hype around Guild Wars 2 was about as high as it's ever been. Yeah, that was pretty bad. You were going to ask, where did you find it? It's kind of, that was, like I say, part of the original marketing package. There was that. There was the one where all the people in the world turn into Tyrian creatures or Tyrian people. It's just absolutely awful. Some of the marketing material for this game has just got a long, proud history of some pretty cringy marketing. And I think it was almost about like 3 years ago, somebody on Reddit just said, hey, you know, when you're marketing this stuff, why don't you just put up like a flash of what's coming and get us stoked and leave it at that? And I think they actually took that. Yeah, taxi cab confessions attempt. No wonder they stopped marketing. Indeed, absolutely cringe. There's just no two ways about it. I'm not sure how else to describe that. So that is, yeah, that's Guild Wars 2 marketing, my friends. So yeah, Steam can't hurt because the damage is already done, I think is the best way to put it. So that is that. Yeah, I'm really stoked. I think Steam is going to be a big deal. I think it's going to at least bring some new people. And if it doesn't bring new people, then at least we'll have seen a lot of polished Corteria. In terms of that early leveling experience, which doesn't impact me, I don't expect I'll ever level another tune, but kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. So there was that, and I guess the other thing that we're getting this week is some changes to Elementalist, some changes to a bunch of builds, a fairly nice bump in a few different power builds. Yeah, it'll be fun to help get people started. I guess my theory on this is, and I'm going to make a bit of a hot take here. I don't know. Got to let those players just play the game. My big concern about the Steam launch and the Guild Wars 2 community goes back to the way this community kind of overhelps in a very cringy manner at times. And I don't obviously mean anybody who's watching right now. But I've seen it a few times. You see this when new streamers or new content creators pick up the game, and they start making a few videos. Here's my little let's play of Guild Wars 2, and the next thing you know, these people are flooded in their email boxes, in their in-game tells and stuff like that, with quote unquote helpers. And I'm not sure that it's the most healthy thing for this game. It really gets to be overbearing to the point where new players can't actually start the game and play it through as intended. I'm looking at, a good example is, and I don't want to take any shots, but, I look at Vanilla Bean's content. If any of you guys ever watch Vanilla Bean, he is really talented and a great streamer. But this guy started playing the game, and suddenly there was 6 people on Skyscales farting out every particle effect in the game, following him wherever he went. And he's cool about it, but it lends to the wrong experience. You got to let people actually try the game. Nika, will Guild Wars 2 be Steam Deck enabled? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I am absolutely not sure if it will be. It will be fun to. So yeah, when we're talking about getting people started, I think there has to be a level where we just let them play the game. Without showing up in Queensdale, showering them with stuff that ends up in their inventory that they don't know how to use, etc. I don't know. Gail is leveling 2 new tunes this week. What are you leveling, Gail? What kind of tunes are you leveling? Ronnie, I love that about the community. I think there has to be a point, because I've actually seen a lot of people get turned off by that, Ronnie. I've seen some people go, well, if I can't play the game as intended because of the community, then it does create problems at points. And I'll go to Grimdark Half Off on this, who was running Let's Plays until basically, the kind of smothering nature of the community actually kind of pushed him away from enjoying it, because every time he logged on, there was a half dozen emails, and half of his Let's Plays were, ending up with him reading emails, etc. So I don't know. I think there has to be a point where we don't, portal every jumping puzzle for people. We let them go out and enjoy the game themselves, instead of that, where we don't, rush them to their raptors and everything. It's just my point of view. I really think the community kind of needs to step back every once in a while and let people naturally enjoy this game. Because if I had joined this game and people had been up in my grill every 5-10 minutes, I'd have quit. That's just me. I know I'm a little bit more, what is the word? I'm a little less social than other people. Yeah, not over help, but they offer to help, absolutely. And I think that's the key, because I think that there is the offer to help, and then there is flooding people's email boxes. There is telling people how to do each and everything rather than letting them kind of explore it. I think part of the fun of MMOs is navigating these systems and learning these systems. And I think that if you take that out of the game, then any accomplishment later on becomes less impactful. And I think a good example of this is I'll go back to when Caddy first started the game, and this was Caddy's first real PC game, and she was, you know, very very much at the beginning. Well, I want to get my mount. I want to get my mount, and I'm like, well, we can get it, but here's the thing: this game is not calibrated for you to have a mount for the first 80 levels, and you will lose a lot of sense of accomplishment. You know, the first time you cheese a Visto with a Springer, you lose the experience of getting that Vista, and you never get it back. Now, some people hate that experience. Fair bit, hate it. Get your Springer, get your Raptor, etc. But I think there needs to be a place where we let people or organically learn and fall in love with this game very much like we did. And that, I think, is essential and important, is that we do have to, you know, step back and make sure that we are giving people breathing room. I mean, another good example is when Summit started playing this game, and just, you know, suddenly there's 2 packed instances every time the guy went anywhere, and it was impossible for him in open world to play the game. It really was. What would you say, what are you saying also apply to hero point trains? I mean, again, you know, how I feel about hero point trains, I personally don't do hero point trains. I don't enjoy hero point trains. I think there are enough hero points in the game to go get at least one elite spec organically, completely solo, without ever having to do, you know, the really hot, hard hero points. But I also understand that hero points are also a social experience. And I think that that's a good thing. So I think the facility needs to be there for somebody to join a hero point train. But the expectation that this is the only way for them to get their hero point, I think, is part of the problem. And for everybody to say, well, oh, you want to get that elite spec of yours working, you know, go join a hero point train, I think creates a bit of a problem in terms of the experience, because, you know, if you look at Verdant Brink, I think there's only 3 hero points there that actually need help. And yet the perception is that you need help with everything in Verdant Brink, right? So that's just my personal take on it. You know, I fell in love with this game playing Verdant Brink. I fell in love with this game with the challenge. I fell in love with this game with how hard as F that Verdant Brink was. That is where the game finally clicked with me. After 80 hours of going through and enjoying the world and stuff like that, where this game finally grabbed me was Verdant Brink. And if we set this expectation with people that, oh yeah, no, Verdant Brink, it's 100% group content. Well, I mean, is it? Is it not? I don't know. Let us take a look at the chat. There's tons of community controller profiles available. I've heard that. I've heard you actually can play it with a controller without too many jerk hacks. It makes me glad when I started I didn't go out and get a mount right away. Caddy, yeah, I mean, yeah, and it was sad to me when the point when you decided you needed your mount was when you were going to group events and were unable to tag mobs because everybody else was using mounting gauges and stuff like that. So you were actually being hindered by people with mounts. And you were like, well, I got to get my mount just to keep up. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of do at this point. Kind of do. 2 sides to HP points. We end up with people who have no experience. I think that's a good part of it, you know. But I think that both facilities need to be there and be made very clear. And this community perception that a hero point train is the only way for you to get your elite spec is a bit of a problem. My son is playing without a Skyscale, Warclaw, and Griffin. It's pretty wild how different his experience is from mine. And I even remember when I didn't have mounts and did the same content, I couldn't imagine World versus World without a Warclaw. I could definitely imagine the game without the Skyscale. I would gladly give up my Skyscale just so that my Springer skins had value again. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. When it came back to the game and restarted, and every 30 minutes was told to get the Raptor, managed to complete the core game without it, but it broke with HOT and just got it. And I think that, you know, that's the thing. If we push everybody to all these ultimate conveniences, if we rush them to their Skyscale, what do they lose? And I think I went over this in my Let's Replay series when we were when I was going through, and the way that the sky, and I leveled 1 to 80 without a mount. And that Skyscale absolutely breaks the game. It completely 100% breaks core Tyria. Being able to get those vistas that are, you know, kind of hidden behind mini jumping puzzles and stuff like that by hopping on your Springer or jumping with your Raptor or whatever, it really takes away part of the game that people will never get back. And if we as a community are doing that on a larger scale, then, you know, we do gut some of the experience from people. That said, some of the people who play video games these days don't want that experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think we need to be sensitive about those things. Emmanuel, Windshark says, I think just the HOT hero points usually need more people. Other expansions can be easily done solo. Windshark, I thought so too, but there are some people out there who legitimately struggle with the elites that are in the Cantha maps. I've seen this, talked to people who've gone through this. I mean, there are some people who straight up struggle with that stuff when it comes to, you know, just handling the elites. And what's important to understand about hero points is that a lot of people do them because they have 0 elite specs and are running on old builds on core specs. And there aren't very many core spec builds that are super efficient. So if I'm coming in there on my core spec Thief, you know, and I don't even have Daredevil unlocked, and, you know, I'm not super proficient with the game, and I've never watched one of Mind Circus's videos learning how to play my class, shameless plug, then really what's going to happen is I am going to struggle with those elites. I may even learn to struggle with a couple of those veterans on the Path of Fire maps, because of course some of those veteran hero points in Path of Fire are, you know, a step up from the usual core experience anyways. And I've seen and heard lots of complaints from people who struggle with that stuff. And I think it's important to understand that, you know, what we as experienced veterans find easy about those points can actually be pretty challenging. And I look at a couple of the ones in Cantha. There's one where this guy will punt you right off a cliff as you're trying to get the hero point, and he will just repeatedly punt you off this cliff until you've mitigated it or killed him. So I think it's just another way to go. Love hate VB. VB is my favorite map in the game. Every time I finish VB, I feel happy. Verdant Brink. A lot of people point to their favorite maps in this game. Verdant Brink is mine. But I like Verdant Brink not for any other reason than I think Verdant Brink is just such a departure from other MMO open world maps. There's just nothing that compares to Verdant Brink. If you go and you play a half dozen other MMOs from beginning to end, you will never see another map like Verdant Brink. Verdant Brink is absolutely amazing. I remember how we hated Maguma so much in Guild Wars 1, its tangly, trippy environment. You know, Licentian, what I need to do is I need to wait until a Steam sale for Guild Wars 1, and I really think that I need to go and try and play it at some point. I have never done that. Cattywampus, Warclaw and World versus World isn't as needed with the shared speed from the Warclaw's blessing, but that still means that at least one Warclaw is needed, I think, Catty. I mean, back before the Warclaw, everybody had to you had to bake some form of speed buff into just about every build you made, or if you were in a hardcore group content, somebody had to be carrying the swiftness, and that was like a necessity. So things like Traveler runes, or things like even Centaur runes and stuff like that, became a really big deal before the Warclaw, and you really, like, it was essential. You had to have some kind of passive speed bonus going on somewhere in your build. It was crazy. But then before mounts, we used to do that in open world too. You know, your gathering tunes needed to have swiftness, etc. So it really did make a difference. It really did make a difference. Sky scale equals helicopter in the precise waypoint, POI, or if you want, and then helicopter out again. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of really good examples of the way that breaks the game. Let's make a small demonstration about this. I think there's a couple of ways to really demonstrate that. Let me go to. I'm just going to find it really quickly. Yeah, let's go and take a look at this one. So, and you know, again, I'm not going to die on this hill. I don't think that it's super important, but obviously if I want that up there, I must get on the correct mount and just fly up and get it. But if I want to get that before there were mounts, like, I go over here, I think. Where is this? Where does it start? This is the one that's on the inside, isn't it? Yeah. So we come in over here and do this, and do this, and do this, and jump over to this one. It's almost like I've done this before. I was 8 times world complete before mounts. But what comes with this is some learning about jumping and distance and everything, about control that you lose. But more importantly, it's like, oh, okay, well, I've done this. Holy crap, I just got to the top. Very cool. And then I click on this and I get my Vista. And there's a small sense of accomplishment that comes with that if I mount up over that, I'm never getting that sense of accomplishment back. And I realize that not every player loves that sense of accomplishment the same way that I do. But that's kind of why I play video games. I don't know about you guys. I can finally say I remember when World versus World. Sorry, I got to catch up here. Playing Thief is your first problem. Man, Thief is in a brutal place for open world PvE, other than Spectre at this point. I can finally say I remember when World vs. World didn't have the Warclaw. It was a very different game. A very different game without the Warclaw. But I think the Warclaw was positive. Like, hot take, I like the Warclaw in World vs. World. I think that the Warclaw in World vs. World actually addressed some real problems, because I actually think that part of the problem with World vs. World that people may have had was that, you know, getting on tag was hard. And I think that the Warclaw addresses that. And that's not a problem for experienced people. By the way, if you're in party, I'll just pop this hero point. We'll go kill some stuff randomly while I stream here. I honestly just I feel that I think it was a positive move. I think the Warclaw was a positive move, and I know a lot of the World versus World hardcores disagree with me, and I know a lot of people think that the Warclaw was damaging and put there just to sell skins. But when I think about what the actual problems with World versus World are, and the actual problems with World versus World are getting to your group, playing with your friends, etc. I think those are the real issues with World versus World. It isn't, you know, balance issues. It's things like that. And I think the Warclaw addresses those things fairly well. As much as I love Guild Wars 2, I don't know why I feel the devs are destroying the game in terms of, say, you're not giving the players what they want. Gilham, what are you specifically referring to? Because I actually feel that they've been doing a very good job of kind of addressing player concerns. There's, listening to player feedback is not the same as doing what the players want at every point. But I think that ANET's been pretty responsive, and I think actually their response to this last balance patch was really strong. But if you're referring to anything specific, I'd like to hear it, because I'm not a real big apologist for ANET this week. That's just me, Guild Wars 2 Trilogy is $30 on Steam. I might pick it up also. Yeah, the only problem is I just don't want to get into it and then just feel like I'm just playing it because I love Guild Wars 2. I know that there are some problems with Guild Wars 1, and I actually tried Guild Wars 1 during its beta. And I was just too into City of Heroes at the time to really get into it, but yeah. Warrior used to have a speed bonus only with weapons drawn in one of the traits. Yeah. I think the only class that didn't have a passive speed bonus back around the Heart of Thorns era was Guardian. And what you had to use with Guardian was either runes that increased your speed, or you could use staff, which you could really get a fair bit of. You get a fair bit of swiftness off staff, right? I think it's staff 4, if I'm not mistaken. I've been playing a lot of Guild Wars 2 lately because Guild Wars 2 has been Guild Wars 1 lately because Guild Wars 2 has been getting boring for me lately. It's actually pretty fun with an interesting difference. The build variety and hero customization is awesome. My problem with the build variety in Guild Wars 1, as somebody who watched it a lot, is the build craft is a lot more open in Guild Wars 1, but the number of good builds is not as good, like there's build variety, but there's also the ability to gimp yourself completely in Guild Wars 1, which, yeah, you can nerf yourself pretty hard in Guild Wars 2 if you try. But I think that in terms of what's available for actual viable builds, I'm not sure that the Guild Wars 1 system is that much better than Guild Wars 2. And my understanding of the situation in Guild Wars 1 was that most people just ended up playing the same half dozen builds anyways, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm talking out my butt a little bit on that one. I have not played the game. I'm okay with playing a game with dated graphics, as those of you guys who were tuned into my City of Heroes stream this week may have noticed, but there's some gameplay elements to Guild Wars 1 I'm not totally stoked on. Mounts just ruin most jumping puzzles. I think that's absolutely a thing. And if you don't like jumping puzzles, that's great, but I mean, that's no reason to completely invalidate the content is kind of my point of view. It really isn't no reason to completely invalidate the content. And how mounts negated learning how the movement crystals were needed. Drytop. Drytop was the map that was... I say it every time I go to Drytop. I'm just like sitting here in these little blades. All right. I say this every time I go to Drytop. I say I'll take content invalidated by mounts for $1,000. Really, Drytop, no map suffers more than Drytop when it comes to what mounts did to the game, because Drytop is an interesting experience until you have a Springer, a Raptor, or a Skyscale, etc. I think Drytop is just awful with those conveniences. Drytop becomes just an awful experience. It really does. It really does. I'm okay with mounts ruining my JPs because I never did them before, and I feel the same way. I really dislike jumping puzzles, but I don't think it's a reason to completely invalidate it. Licentian, are you playing Mirage? You totally are. Oh my god. I love Mirage. That's just one of those I just never have the time to play Mirage anymore, and I'd really like to. Remember when we had to do the complete map on World vs. World for Been There Done That? Actually, that is before my time, Ronnie. I joined the game. I'm just trying to think about when I joined the game. So I joined the game right in season 3, episode 1 is when I started playing. So I started playing the game as soon as Bloodstone Fen was released. That was my first, yeah. So no, I don't remember that, to be honest with you. But yeah, as is being pointed out by Ronnie, you used to have to map complete all of the World versus World maps in order to get your gift of exploration. Pretty crazy. Is ANET going to hear about the canon in World versus World this week? You know, let us take our moment here. And are we red this week? We are not red, so I can't go and view it. Oh well. Yes, Caddy, would you like a moment to complain about the canon in Red Keep? Hey, they fixed the yak. They did not fix the yak. Are you kidding me? They fixed the yak? That means it's actually getting dev time. It wasn't stuck this morning. That's crazy. Oh my. Let's go. What do we want to do here? Let's go do some HOT hero points just because they give good bags. Let's go over here and then I'll catch up with chat. Crazy. A fix to World versus World. Cornerstone game mode confirmed. I wouldn't say the Guild Wars 1 system is better, just different. I think that's an important thing to point out. I think there are a lot of apologists for Guild Wars 1, and I think there's a lot of nostalgia for Guild Wars 1. And I don't want to say it wasn't a good game, having never played it, but I mean, there's a lot of powerful ass nostalgia going on for Guild Wars 1. It's pretty crazy. I find the engineer to be overwhelming at times. I smash buttons. I might as well be playing with my feet. Do you think Ranger might be easier and as effective in World versus World and open world? Yes and no. I tell you what, Nika, you give me a couple of minutes to finish this, and I will give you a much better answer to that question. Because I think what you bring up is a very powerful point here. Let's help our peepo. Is engineer complicated? Is engineer more complicated? Is Ranger easier? You know, Soul Beast is simple, right? But there are some simple ways to play engineer, and sorry for those of you guys in team, but I'm just going to pull this up for a couple of quick seconds here, and I'm going to pop on another character and give you just a good idea. Because engineer can be played really simply as well. Engineer doesn't have to be complicated. You could play core engineer and do really good with a flamethrower just pressing 1. And I'll kind of give you an idea about this. What I have here is my Selly Hollowsmith. But if I come in here into my builds, and I think I've got... Yeah, here's my core engie build. Is this my core engie? No, this is not a core engineer build, but we will make it one. So let us just change a couple of things here. So we run Juggernaut, we run the flamethrower, and if we take a look at the gameplay on this, okay, all we do when this kit is back up, once we have this trait on here called Juggernaut, which stacks might and stab whenever we're using this, is we just walk around open world pressing 1. So there are some really simple ways to play engineer. Engineer, however, has the ability to become more complicated. So if I come in here and I just, I go into the flamethrower, I can walk around just pressing one on just about everything and do just fine as long as the build is good. And that's really all I need to worry about is just my flamethrower memes. So is it more complicated? No, because Ranger involves pet swapping and all these other things. But I can then take a moment and go and pop on a different build, which is Selly Hollow-Smith, which is a fair bit more complicated, where I'm not actually using that flamethrower and I'm not actually just pressing one to get over, etc. Or I could put that flamethrower on my Hollow-Smith build, and I can do it that way. So while at its core, Engineer can be a lot more complicated, it doesn't have to be more complicated. And to keep it from being complicated, when you're first starting, ignore your tool belt skills and don't use any kits. Okay? If you do that, all right, you will get a much easier kind of, I just want to say a smoother experience until you learn the rest of it. But that said, will it ever be as simple as your Longbow Ranger? No. That said, the Longbow Ranger isn't always as effective as an Engineer, and it certainly isn't as flexible as an Engineer. But you can play both of these classes fairly simply, or you can play them a little bit more complicated. I think what's more important is to realize that the game is that flexible, and realizing that the game is that flexible, you have the ability to kind of make what you want. Now, if you've got the ability to make what you want, make it simpler. Simplify it, kind of go through and add whatever you want in that kind of way. That's my big recommendation on these things, is that we recognize that there's the ability to simplify a complicated class. My thing about playing a class you like in this game is play the aesthetic that you want. Play the thing that you think looks, sounds, and feels cool. If you do that, you can find the ability to kind of carve out a gameplay that you like within them. I think that there are very few classes that don't have the ability to kind of customize them that way, I think is the best way to put it. I don't want to, go off on too much more of a tangent. I like Ranger. I think Untamed is spectacular. I like Soul Beast. I still play me some Condi Soul Beast every week. I may not like Druid as much, but then again, I play all the Engineers as well. So it's kind of that way. I'll catch up with chat in a minute. We will do this hero point. We will hit this mushroom. Help some people get their stuff. NG is my good training for the more complicated professions, because you can make NG as complicated as you want to be. By contrast, Elementalist is complicated right out of the box. I mean, yeah, but again, I'm running Elementalist here on this, and if you see, I'm rarely switching out of fire. And I really don't have to, I'm running this kind of Trailblazer setup. You just got the map complete for this zone. Very cool. So if you take a look, I'm just running an old Trailblazers Condi Tempest. And with this, I barely need to swap out of fire. And that's kind of why I run it while I'm doing this, So you can even simplify Elementalist. Now, at your core, Gale, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct in that it is much more complicated to play Elementalist than just about every other class. It is much more complicated to play Rev than it is to play Warrior. Absolutely. But there are ways to make that Rev simpler, I guess is the best way. That's my favorite NG build. Absolutely, Flamethrower NG. Don't enjoy Hollow-Smith, unfortunately. I'll stick with Scrapper or occasionally Mechanist if I want to chill. You don't like Hollow-Smith. I get that. I'm a big Hollow-Smith fan. I quite enjoy Hollow-Smith, but again, I enjoy all things NG. But Scrapper is getting a buff this week. That'll be nice. Let's help these people get this hero point. I love this. It's a hero point train without being a hero point train. We're just helping the peepos get their points. Let's get some might going and burn this guy down. I expect that my friends here will burn him quite quickly. So PvE, trying to find a raid group is a pain. I've been playing Guild Wars 2 since beta, and I've only been able to do raids 6 times in the past year. Don't pug them. Don't pug raids. My big recommendation with raiding, if you want to get into it, having never done it before, is if you are on NA, to go and find the Raid Academy Discord. The Raid Academy Discord basically is training runs all day, all night, and they are constantly popping off. And I think that that's important to kind of realize. That is one way to do it. Find a guild that does it. Just get yourself a static. Find some people to do it, because pugging raids is an awful experience. It is an absolutely mind-numbingly cancer experience. I have nothing good to say about pugging raids. But I think that, getting together with 10 people and doing it that way is kind of the way to do it. And really be social about it, I guess, is the best point I want to make about raids. Raids is not content for everybody. If you'd like to do it, join the Raid Academy Discord. I, as an experiment, a little social experiment of mine, joined their Discord one day, and that afternoon I got a kill on one of the raid bosses that I wanted. So I think that it's kind of important to realize that raids are not kind of integrated into the actual LFG very well, in terms of the way that they go. And there are some challenges behind that. I don't think the LFG system in this game is awesome, but I don't think it's terrible. But I think that what is really important is that the more social you are about these things, the better that you're going to do with them. You're going to find a lot less problems when you have some people around you to kind of do these things. Catching up with the chat, try to find leveling builds. I wanted to find leveling builds. All leveling builds in my world break down to do as much power damage as you can as quickly as possible while you're leveling. Any AoE, any power, just do it that way. I don't get super into it. It's just a small example. If I could type more than 200 characters, I would give a more in-depth experiment. Yeah, I think you're making a good point, though, Gehan. I mean, I don't want to take that away from you, because I do understand that, the experience that I'm talking about, is largely theoretical for a lot of people, I guess is the way to put it. A lot of this is just that. But I found that when I wanted to raid, finding people to raid with was the best way, and not expecting the game to do that for me. And get into strikes. I think strikes are a really good place to start. I think they really are. Where are we here? I don't know if 20% less damage is a slight nerf. Robin, good morning. Aaron, I am losing the context on that one. I'm the 20% damage nerf. If you're talking about the catalyst thing, I think that's only about 10%, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's still real. I'm not a fan of it. Oh boy, I am in aggro, and I think I went the wrong way. I totally did. All right. Let me get out of here, because I am not doing this correctly, and I will catch up with chat. Here we go. There we go. It's almost like I know where I'm going. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. The only reason I would want to do raids is because you want the legendary armor. Yeah, I mean that's one reason to do them. I think legendary armor is obviously a really nice carrot, but for me, the reason to raid was just social, getting into it with other people. I mean, the legendary armor is cool at all, but it doesn't really stop you from doing anything in this game. I hear a lot of people saying, X, Y, and Z is gated because I don't have legendary armor. Well, not really. There's not a whole lot you can't do in this game without it. So. But it is a nice thing to have. I will admit that. I have the one set of legendary armor. I'm a big fan of it. It makes making content easier. I will say that. But in terms of, time versus money spent, you're better off just stat swapping, to be honest with you. I think so, at least. Stat swapping is like 30 gold, right? So it's important to realize that, 30 gold to stat swap is not a lot. And it's a little cumbersome, and it's not the best quality of life, but, we did it before the Legendary Armory. Oh, behind. Midnight is behind. Midnight, that is okay. I got killed. Wow, what am I doing? Res me, carry me, friends. There we have it. Catching back up with the chat. I just skimmed over it, to be honest. They changed their minds. I wish they would implement WoW's LFG to make it easier to find a group. The problem with that, I will invite you to the party, Midnight. If you are doing something else, by all means, just don't accept. The problem with that, Gihan, is this. This game does not have the same rigid class structure. And if you don't have the rigid class structure, then it becomes impossible to set a role in the LFG. And if I can't set a role in the LFG and make it real, then any kind of roles that are filled become problematic. And I go, a good example of this is if you've ever played DC Universe Online, you've got a setting where you change your stance, and your class will have a DPS stance and a something else stance, either control, tank, heal. And it makes making an LFG with that easily, because you have the ability to say, well, this character is indeed, a healer. The problem with Guild Wars 2 is I can go in and say I am an alacrity rev and give no alacrity. I can say I'm a healer and, if I'm improperly spec'd, I can give no heals. Absolutely, Midnight. And happy birthday to your son, by the way. Happy birthday to your son. So I think that the problem with making a proper LFG, and when we say that, one that is like role dependent, is that we run into the point where, enforcing those roles is almost impossible. And I say this because I did a lot of strikes a couple of weeks ago, and I forget why. Oh, yeah, I was grinding out some Ascended gear for one of my tunes. And seeing the people that would say, oh, I'm here as an alac, or I'm here as quickness, and not actually giving alac and quickness. People that said that they were on... said that they were alacrity renegades and were obviously not running Righteous Rebel and stuff like that. And I'm not cracking on the performance. What I'm saying is that there's a gap there between the theoretical performance of a build and the actual performance of the person behind the keyboard and the actual build itself. And I think that becomes really hard to integrate into the game. And I would leave it on ArenaNet to fix that, but ANET has said that the LFG is not currently on their radar. I think it was Grouch said a couple of weeks ago that they're not planning any big changes to the LFG at that point. So that's kind of the way it is. I agree that a proper LFG would be great, but the problem with that is the lack of role enforcement in this game and kind of the sandboxy nature of character development. You can do world versus world and PvP for Legendary Armor. While I've not done PvP for Legendary Armor, my problem with Legendary Armor in world versus world was, holy shit, that was among the grindiest things I've ever done in this game. If I really, really enjoyed World versus World, and I do enjoy World versus World, but it is not my only game mode. If it was my only game mode, I probably wouldn't have felt as good about that. And I think Caddy's a good example. She's done all three weights in World versus World. And she honestly, she plays 3 times a week on a static and stuff like that. But she doesn't play a ton more than that and had the ability to kind of put those together. So is it grindy? I don't know. I started to feel really grindy about it near the end of the armor set, to the point where I almost took a break from the game kind of thing. It was really impeding my enjoyment of the game. Um, and there are only a few points when I've reached that level of uh, burnout from the grind in this game. And the legendary armor in World versus World was absolutely one of those places I felt that grind pretty hard. So that is what I will say about that. Is the ability there to do it? It is, but if you do not like the game mode, if you, or even if you do like the game mode, it really isn't. Really was, it is a fairly kind of substantial drain, I guess is the best way to put it. Let's see. Still doing it with no legendary armor. Would love to have some though. I mean, yeah, I love having the legendary armor. I absolutely love it. But I also recommend that part of enjoying a video game is not putting yourself through long grindy bits that you don't enjoy. And if you do not enjoy World versus World a great deal, making that armor there is not going to be fun. It really isn't. It's going to be awful. But then I suppose the same could be said about raids. If you do not enjoy raids, then I think that that's another point where it's like, well, I'm doing a bunch of content I don't like for this reward, etc. I think that's one of the things you got to avoid in this game. And I don't think that legendary armor is really a big enough carrot to, you know, spend a couple of months of your playtime in a game. And that's just me, though. Guy in my guild was giving more alacrity with a non-alac build on his rev than an alac mech simply because he was better with his rev than another. I mean, there is absolutely that. I mean, player skill is absolutely a part of it. But, you know, I think the problem is like saying I'm providing quickness. I think actually a good example of the problem is the number of people on Healing Firebrand who come out and think they're actually healers, when Healing Firebrand is not a good healer. You know, Healing Firebrand is a mediocre healer at best. What Healing Firebrand does well is, you know, the rest of the stuff, right? And quickness. And then you get these people showing up that aren't giving quickness, which is what they're expected to do when they are on Healing Firebrand, because Healing Firebrand's green numbers just aren't that great. I mean, there are far better specs if what you are looking to do is heal. But they come into this game and people say, well, you know, Healing Firebrand is the meta support spec, etc. Let us go back to the bounty system. These things are a little bit too easy. But they come into the game wanting to play a support spec. Everybody tells them that, you know, Healing Firebrand is the way to do it. They go in and they worry about healing when what they should be doing is providing quickness. And there is no way to enforce that in an LFG. There's no way to accommodate that as far as my minor brain can figure out. I don't know if you can actually account for that in an LFG. Mind over meta, were you solo farming World versus World on any path as a slog, even if you follow a train? I was everything. Windshark, I was playing 3 times, maybe 4 times a week in a dedicated group. Pretty much everything I did was World versus World for about 3 months. So I was doing some grouping, I was doing some solo, I was doing some Havoc, I was doing it all. And I really do enjoy it all in World versus World. I don't want to, you know, set the wrong expectation or give the wrong impression. I really love World versus World in this game. Even with the lack of developer attention, I think World versus World is actually something pretty special in this game. So I you know, I don't want to put it out like, you know, I don't enjoy it and just sat there through it because, you know, I wanted the legendary armor. I absolutely did not. I got to the point where I figured I could make the legendary armor. And another good example is I actually did the backpack in World versus World as well. And that was just because I realized one day that I had a lot of the currency for it. I just kind of woke up one day and said, oh, you know, I could actually finish this thing, you know, here if I grind out some mats. So I think it is important to realize that. I agree. I say get the legendary free amulet, maybe the fractal back piece before getting a full set of legendary armor. I think tell people, you know, get a couple of sets of ascended gear. I mean, It's not expensive. Go and do some strikes, build up that currency, get a couple of sets of Ascended gear. You've got 2 gear slots. Go play some Fashion Wars, etc. Don't be so worried about that legendary, because especially if that legendary is actually putting you doing content you don't enjoy. It's important to realize that this is not a reason to get super salty. The quality of life is nice, but if you are not juggling either a lot of different alts or a lot of different skills, then it's largely an ego bump. It's largely a prestige thing more than anything else. Heal Vindicator is legit. Yes, I agree. Heal Vindicator is absolutely legit. I'm a big fan of the Heal Vindicator, actually, in World versus World. I'm not sure that I like Heal Vindicator very much in PvE. I don't think that Heal Vindicator brings one of the 2 essential boons. I would not play a support build anymore now that Tempest is offering Alacrity. I don't see a compelling reason to play any kind of support build that does not offer either permanent quickness or permanent Alacrity. It just doesn't make sense to me. You don't have the value to a group if you are not doing that. Hey, let's go legendary, my friends. We're going to be legendary bounty killers. People don't need to be worried about legendary gear. I can guarantee you can do all the content in this game in just exotics. Yeah. And people forget about the value of things like that Khalidbolg sword, which gives you, free stat and form resets. Or people forget the value of the trinkets in Bloodstone Fen that can be stat reset for 100 Unbound Magic, There's a lot of options in this game. People forget that exotic gear is actually pretty good. So, all right, my friends, let us face this legendary here. But I think there's a lot of, people feel a lot of pressure to be best in slot. But best in slot in Guild Wars 2 is Ascended. And it's pretty easy to get there. Oh, chunked right down by something. Let's let the J-Bot do its thing here. What am I getting rocked by? Oh, well, maybe I should just... What the heck? Oh, it's Sniper and those. Okay. So this is where my DPS tune starts playing a little bit of support. That's the nice thing about Tempest, is you have the ability to kind of pull it up a little bit. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about, I don't think I'd actually play any kind of support build that wasn't either permeating quickness or alacrity. So I don't think that in PvE anyways, I don't think those 2 boons are nearly as essential in World versus World. So I think that kind of leaves Vindicator out of the conversation for me at this point. And I hate to be a boon snob, but I'm totally a fucking boon snob. I'm not even going to front. If your support build isn't offering a lot of boons, then you might as well be just like, trolling your team, hard trolling them. Don Savoy, you agree? I'm glad to hear it. Welcome to the stream. Ronnie, what changed stats on Bloodstone trinkets with just magic? Ronnie, after this bounty, I'll run you a quick demo of that. It's really easy. So, yeah, hey, we're legends. And you guys are totally carrying me. Licentian with the hard carry on the DPS, by the way. Go Mirage Power. Beautiful. And Gail says, and exotic is cheap if you can sustain enough Ascended for your dozens of tunes. Please don't judge me. I actually sustained, Ascended on a lot of my tunes. And I finally am at the point where my last alt actually has exotic armor. and I just can't do it again, kind of thing. Yeah, give me a second. Let me show you this really quickly. I'm gonna log out. To those of you guys who are on my my little squad here, go here. I will be a couple of moments. I just am going to kind of demonstrate something really quickly. So yeah, let's pull this up. You know what? Take 5 minutes, guys. Take 5 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over this, and then I'm going to take 5 minutes myself. So bear with me. If you want them, smoke them while you got them. But for Ronnie here, let me just grab a tune who is sitting in Fields of Ruin. And I will demonstrate. So yeah, the Bloodstone Fen jewelry, absolutely pretty much the easiest here. So in my bank, I carry a lot of these things. If you see this one here, I've got this set for what? Power, precision, condition damage, and expertise. What is that again? That's Vipers. Okay, so I've got a little Vipers ring here, which was stat set. Now, if I go back to Bloodstone Fen here, and we will go. Teeth were floating. My bad. I should have taken a break a few minutes ago, but I will catch up. We'll catch up. So jumping off here, we go down to the Unbound Magic vendor down here in Bloodstone Fen. And here we have it. So have our magic vendor here, and our magic vendor is also going to sell us something called the Bloodstone Capacitor. So we've got a backpack, an amulet, and we can actually get rings here. So if I buy the Bloodstone Capacitor, and then I bring this up and I use the Bloodstone Capacitor, no stats are set on my Blood Ruby band anymore. So then I can go back in and customize it. So yeah, it really does give a whole lot of value to those. So keep that in mind. The other thing, and I won't go through it here, is any Living World Season 3 ring or Season 4 ring. So any ring that you buy with Unbound Magic or Volatile Magic currencies can be attuned. And when you attune it, it also resets the stats on it. So I think I may have an example of that in my bag here. Yeah, so see, if you've got a Mistborn band, which are the ones that you buy with the currency in Dragonfall. So if you go there and you buy one and you set the stats on it, and then later on you go and attune it, it will reset the stats. So as you see, this is now able to be customized again. So yeah. No, the reset for all Bloodstone. Yeah. Emmanuel's pointing that out, that you have the ability to reset all sets of them. And I'll just put an example of that here. I've got 3 of these rings. So I've got 2 more here that have stats set on them. If I use this Bloodstone Capacitor, you will note it does them both at the same time. So there you have it, my friends. Quick 5-minute break or so, and I will be right back. Hello, ArenaNet. My name is Mind Circus. You may remember me from such roasts as Why the Story Sucks According to Archie Andrews, or Jadebot. Jadebot! Recently, I found what I believe to be a bug in your game. I'm unable to choose End of Dragon stats on my stat-selectable Ascended trinkets. Hey, I even wrote a bug report that was professionally formatted and just needed to be cut and pasted into your Jira for your software developers. Now, it's come to my attention that this may not be a bug, that you have intentionally made these stat sets available only to legendary gear on purpose. It was theorized that this is a way to drive players to the new content. The theory points to the ambiguous language used in the announcement of these stat sets. This is ambiguous language that was not present when you announced the change to stat selectable trinkets that said stat selections available were dependent on the owned expansions. Now, as someone who spent a good 3 weeks of my playtime prior to the expansion farming up stat selectable trinkets and armor boxes, I said to myself, hey, my old pal Anet wouldn't do me dirty like this, right? Right? Kate, thank you. Fix it. Love you. Eckeveld Forest is great. Bye.
Here I stand to fight. Mighty foe is lit aflame. Firebrand is busted.
I might be able to think of a few ones like that. Some will be mightier than others, to be sure, but...
Oh, dude.
You know, that might be a good idea. Might not. Who knows?
Seriously?
You know, sometimes might does make right.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
It's a mighty fine experience.
Oh, man.
A few moments later.
See, I know what they say about the pen and the sword, but which is mightier, the axe or the dagger?
Yep, we can't be friends anymore.
All right, I have returned. Next message, I would like to catch up with the chat here, my friends. Looking at everything like I know what I'm doing, and I really just don't. I am going to take a couple of seconds here and just put a little message out to you guys. If you guys are looking for a guild, Caddy has one that we kind of hang out in every once in a while, and me and Midnight and Caddy there talks there sometimes. We even have a guild hall. So, send me a message in game if you want a guild invite. Mind Circus 1506. That is that pimping. The other one, join the Discord if you haven't. Okay, pimping done. Let us go and get our chat back up and let me catch where we are going with everything. I'm going to actually change tunes and then we will get back to our derping. And I'm actually going to play... What am I going to play? I think I'm going to play Bladesworn. What the hell? I'm going to play some Bladesworn. And I'll catch up with you guys. So there. What do you think about the free mount skin? Will it be for the Raptor since it is most... Or could we select the mount? I don't know. Licentian... Invite to guild. Am I repping the right guild first? Let's make sure that I'm repping the right guild. No, you almost got into my solo guild there. Let us rep this guild and see if I have the ability to do so. No, Caddy, can you invite Licentian to the guild? Of course you can. And let me get to where you guys are. Catch. What do I think about the free mount skin? Holy smokes. I have a few thoughts. You know, first off, I think that the free mount for level 10 should have been the Warclaw. I think giving the Warclaw some meaning would have been better. I think it would have been a really good introductory mount for people. It's fast enough and does everything. I think it would have been better than the Raptor, but that is just me. As for the free skin, when we say free, what do we mean by that? Becomes the question. Because there's a free mount skin in World versus World, but to get the free mount skin, you've got to pony in with what, like 250 gold for that quote unquote free mount skin. Now, it is a good deal, right? Because what you get out of that whole little reward track for that mount skin is actually a lot of good stuff, and it's a decent mount skin. But it makes you play some content, etc. And I can't see ANET just saying, here's a mount skin. I expect it will be for the Raptor. I can't see, whoops. Yeah, I should hit my 100 blades, like actually hit it. So let us go here at this point and see if I can build up a little bit of, let's get out of that. Yeah, let's camp this. Where's my team? Oh no, I'm dead because I didn't have people to hard carry me. All right. But I think what's important to realize is, first off, there's no way ANET's going to give this to us without making us do content. And probably a lot of it, and probably a variety of it, I think is probably a good thing to keep in mind. This is not a super good solo build, by the way, and I'm missing everything. So I think that that's important to realize. It'll probably be a Raptor skin because everybody's got a Raptor now. I think that's part of, you know, what's going on with it. Let's see if I can hit something this time. There we go. Nice little hit. Beyond that, I'm not sure what to think about it. I know that a lot of people will get upset the moment it takes any kind of effort. And I think that that's a problem with the community, not with the game. I think that there are a lot of people out there that feel that, you know, this should be handed to us for the anniversary kind of thing. I don't know. I think any kind of, you know, reward bump in this game is a good idea. I think where this game actually always struggles is with, you know, cool rewards for doing content. I think I got this there. Yeah, there we go. That nice 56k crit. Go Bladesworn, go. That's about all I feel about it. I'm actually more interested in the armor set than anything else, to be honest with you guys. I'm very interested in the armor set. The armor set looks pretty sweet. And again, they're going to give us a bunch of stuff to go through. We're going to do some content to get these things done. Beyond that, you know, there's not a whole lot to say. It's cosmetics, whatever. You know, that's kind of where I stand on that. Laurentian says, hey, do you have any preferred gold farm right now? If I were going to be farming gold, if I were really worried about as much gold as possible in the least amount of time, I would probably do meta trains, so not any one single gold farm. I would probably go through and do like the hard stuck meta train. They've got a list of stuff they do in a very specific order that will hit things like Tarir, after hitting Chat Garant, after hitting Choya, the pinata, the Choya pinata, etc. They've got it down to a science there, and I know Teapot did a lot of work on making that as efficient as possible. And from what I understand, it's a solid 40 gold an hour or something to that effect. It's pretty high. If I only wanted to do one, I would probably do Dragonfall. Dragonfall is pretty easy. And the Dragonfall meta is not one that relies on you doing a whole bunch of different things in order for it to be valuable. It's not like Silver Wastes where, you know, you got to pull up your character or your level 52 character on a completed map on a Sunday during Lunar New Year, etc. I think that that's kind of important to recognize. This is not a good character for bounties with the inside-outside phase shifter here, but so I would probably do Dragonfall if I wanted the raw gold. I think it's one of the easier ones to actually let me pick you up, to actually get a lot of value on without a lot of hassle, because I think part of the problem with a lot of the gold farms in this game is that they're highly dependent on 18 other steps. I'm going to have my gold videos out this week, hopefully, at least the first two. And I think the second one is about meta events and which are the better gold farms. And I hope to really just kind of make it clear that, you know, the difference between those gold farms is not as high as you might think unless you are taking all the extra steps. And some of those extra steps I don't think are fun. You know, making sure I have a level 56 alt for my Silver Waste stuff, etc. I just don't think that that's a way I personally enjoy the game. So it's important to keep that in mind. But yeah, Dragonfall would be the big one. I know that actually the highest gold in the game at this point is actually to make sure you're doing Dragon Storm, which is a pretty short event, which has a really big kind of high roll on it. So that's the way I would go. But if I was just kind of wanting to casually farm it, yeah, Dragonfall is where I would stand on that. Where's the guild hall? The guild hall is it's the new guild hall. We went and captured that new guild hall for that one. The guild is an NA guild. I think there should be more upfront about what work is in order to achieve the goal. Well, I mean, you know, we'll know that when it releases. I think that there's a real need in people to know about things before we actually kind of need to know about them. All right, this character, not the best for bounties, just because he doesn't have a ranged option currently. What else do we have here in my list? You know what? Maybe I will play a little bit of... I've already got an Alacrity. Yeah, let's play a little bit of Virtuoso. But I think, you know, I think there gets to be some real outcries. Well, I wish, you know, you'd tell us what we need to get the armor, or I wish, you know, you'd tell us what we need to get X, Y, or Z. Well, it's like, you know, patches next week, you know. It's kind of how I feel about it. I think we at times get a little too worried about the acquisition methods. That's just me, you know, but I try to remain chill about these things. And it's easier for me to remain chill about these things because I do all game modes, because I would highly expect that if we are going to get a mount skin and it requires us to do content, that I would wager that content will involve some world versus world, you know, probably some PvP, etc. I would think that it would probably be one of those things where we end up doing a variety of content. And I know that will upset people because they'll end up doing content they don't want. But I think that a lot of people are worried about getting the information because of that reason. They worry that there's going to be, you know, a piece of content that they don't want to do. That will be the prerequisite for the reward, and they want to give the feedback or whatever. Well, it's not like ANET's ever going to change that. ANET's penchant for making us do a variety of content for our rewards is kind of a no-brainer at this point. We kind of have to expect these things. And I look at the rewards from whatchamacallit. I look at the legendary amulet, the return to achievements, etc., where, you know, yours truly ended up having to do a whole lot of jumping puzzles that made him very unhappy. And yours truly had to do the story content from season 2 for it. These are things that I did not enjoy. And, you know, if they had told me up front that I would absolutely have to do, whatchamacallit again, that I would have to do that Chalice of Tears again, wow, I'd have been writing a forum post if I weren't blocked from the forums. By the way, does anyone know what the drop rate is for ascended items in Strike? I got a great sword 2 days ago and a Warhorn today, so it seems pretty high. On the EOD strikes, it is much higher, to be honest with you. On the EOD strikes, those living water weapons will drop fairly often. I got that great sword as well in one of the EOD strikes. I've never seen an ascended drop in any of the Icebrood Saga strikes. I've never seen an ascended drop. And in fact, I've seen more ascended drops in World versus World than I have in any other game mode. I've seen a lot of rings, a lot of armor boxes, etc. when it comes to drops. But yeah, I've seen a lot of drops in the End of Dragons strikes specifically. By the way, yeah, but mind, how can I get angry about something if I don't know what I'm doing? Well, I mean, there's a piece of you know what, I don't even want to say is wrong, but there's a lot of people that go back to, you know, defaulting to giving, you know, feedback on these kind of things before. I'm not sure. It's a long time to wait. I don't think like a week and a half was a long time to wait for that. Oh, this guy hits hard. That's what I love about Guild Wars 2. They don't want to, if you don't want to do the grind for the item, you don't have to. And that's really what I think people forget about this game and the game mode specifically. This game specifically, but its reward structure. That best in slot is ascended, and that getting ascended is absolutely within each and every player's reach. You know, I geared about a dozen tunes in full ascended before there was a legendary armory, before I knew about Bloodstone Fen resets, before any of this stuff. You know, my gameplay loop was to go out and chop a lot of wood. That used to be kind of my thing. Like, I used to be a hardcore open world gatherer. I used to chop wood, and I used to harvest leather and stuff like that. That used to be my gameplay loop, and it was absolutely viable for gearing up some things. Yeah, I mean, Caddy remembers. I mean, I am probably one of the best gatherers in this game. I know where to gather crap. And I spent the first 2-3 years of my life in this game never having touched fractals, never really having done dungeons other than the story mode. I did a lot of this before I did any of the endgame content, really. Champion Crackling Brand Spark. Hey, World versus World players having to do. I think that's a really important thing that a lot of people don't realize. You know, and I think that Caddy brings up a good point, is those people that come in and say, you know, oh, well, the World versus World rewards, you know, you don't have to do hard things like strikes. You can basically just AFK your way through it. What you don't keep in mind is that World versus World, as it goes, is not the most rewarding game mode. And to make that armor for World versus World, you actually had to do a whole lot of PvE to get those stacks of mats, because you're not getting those stacks of mats in World versus World. You're not getting that kind of reward. And for those of you who are curious and don't do a whole lot of World versus World, if I'm making 10 gold an hour in World versus World, I'm killing it, you know. Whereas in PvE, I can make 12 gold an hour literally chopping wood and harvesting and stuff like that. And I think that that's important to keep in mind, that there isn't anybody that makes that World versus World gear without either either whaling or, credit card swiping or actually doing PvE. It's just not feasible. It's not viable. Because when you look at the rewards that you're getting in PvE content, in open world PvE content specifically, when you look at how valuable those gold farms were, like something like Drizzlewood, it just doesn't compare. It's two completely different things. It is absolutely two completely different things. Gail says, my suspicion, they seem to raise the drop rates when the game is near a significant event. I mean, that's not a bad conspiracy theory. And if I were a developer, it's something I would consider doing. It is not, however, something I would think that the Guild Wars devs would do. As critical as I am about ArenaNet, I actually think that the Guild Wars 2 devs are probably one of the few MMO development teams that actually actively cares about their game. And I think that's kind of important. I just don't see them adding this kind of garbage to it. Let us do this legendary. Let's find our way here. R strikes hard. Windshark says first, chopping wood is profitable. Chopping wood is absolutely profitable. There are people out there that struggle to make 5 gold an hour in this game and could easily double the amount of gold they're making just by chopping wood in Mount Maelstrom. Mount Maelstrom, in terms of its platinum and its hardwood, is actually really, really good gold. And I think it's important. Well, I don't mean like great gold, but it's certainly better if you are struggling to make gold. But you could go out, chop wood, and make enough gold for one of my butt cheaper builds, in an hour. So that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. As for our strikes hard, strikes are not hard. Strikes are very accessible content, particularly what they call Easy 3. So Easy 3 are going to be the first 3 Icebrood Saga strikes. And that is Freyr of Jormag, Shiver Peaks Pass, and Voice and Claw. And those are so on farm that you can get a pug group and have all 3 of those done in about 15 minutes. So I would highly suggest getting into them. Have a good build, though. Don't troll the pug groups. Have a fairly decent build. And when I mean fairly decent, if you are, soloing as a DPS against the Golem at about 10-12, you're going to do better than a lot of people pugging strikes. If you are running a raid build, you will be fine. If you are permaing a decent boon, you will do fine. When I say a decent boon, I mean if you are permaing alacrity or quickness, you will be valuable. But to give you a really good kind of idea, when it comes to the people in pug groups, you basically see people doing around 12k DPS per second. That's not a lot of DPS. That is pretty achievable. I am currently, doing 13k Condi clicks and barely trying. So I don't think they're hard, but that's me as a veteran who's done a fair number of them. I didn't think that they were hard. In fact, I thought they were disappointingly easy when they first launched. So I recommend them. I think they're really accessible. And in fact, strikes are probably the best thing that they added to this game over the last couple of years. I'm going to take it a step further. This emboldened mode on raids makes raids really accessible. And I highly recommend you take a look at that as well. You'll see some training runs on the LFG for whatever the emboldened mode raid is this week. And I think it's raid week 1 this week. I would recommend that too. I really would. I think it takes some pretty hard content and makes it pretty accessible. So I would take a look at that as well. But strikes, absolutely. The End of Dragon strikes are really, really good content. They just are. And they're not hard to do. They really aren't. I guess we should probably be trying to do a little bit of CC bar damage here, but I'm just derping and hitting things in the wrong direction. Some EOD strikes are kind of hard. I think that that's probably valid. I think that there are a few that need a little bit, but if you go through by the beginning, start off with the end of the Icebrood Saga strikes. Do easy 3, get past Bone Skinner and Whisper of Jormag. I think Whisper of Jormag is a really hard strike. I think that Whisper of Jormag is harder than a few of the raids are naturally. And I think if you go in and you do those, it's got a progression to it. And you will start by some really easy content, and it ramps up, and it teaches you basic things as you're going. So I would do it. I would absolutely do it. But if you can do Whisper of Jormag, you can do any of the End of Dragon strikes. Maybe not the challenge modes, but yeah, the End of Dragon strikes, absolutely. Watch a guide vid before doing one. I mean, you could do that. You know what? I'll be honest with you, Laurentian. I have not done Harvest Temple yet. That's the one I have not done. So I have not done Harvest Temple. That is the only one I have left to do. I did do Junkyard a couple of weeks ago, but I was kind of saving those for some video content. I wanted to do them kind of blind video content, but just kind of didn't work out that way. Bone Skinner. Bone Skinner is not one you want to do with pugs. But the thing about Bone Skinner is this: 2 Tempests can carry Bone Skinner, as long as everybody's avoiding the red circles. If your group can manage to avoid the red circles, 2 Tempests can carry 10 people. It's not as hard as you might think, but you need the 2 Tempests, right? And when I say Tempests, what I mean is 2 decent healers, and Tempest being probably what I think is the best healer spec in the game right now. Flat out green numbers, it'll be Ventari Rev, but the best healer is probably Tempest currently in terms of raw green numbers. And now it does Alacrity. So I would keep that in mind. Better leaders make for better experiences. I think that that's really true. And I think that really what you want to keep in mind with any kind of group content is that they're social more than anything else. The amount you are going to enjoy it is highly dependent on the people that you are enjoying it with. If you want to enjoy strikes, get some friends and do it, or make some friends and do it. You can certainly pug strikes. Easily, efficiently, and with a fair degree of fun. But going in with some people that you enjoy their company, etc., makes for a completely different experience. And I know that's kind of a no-brainer, but I think it's more important to recognize when we're talking about endgame content that has a bit of a learning curve to it. If everybody's kind of learning at the same time, or you've got some patient people that are teaching the people who don't know it, it's actually some of the most fun you're ever going to have in a video game. To be honest with you, it really is. There's nothing that comes with that feeling of, beating one of these pieces of content with your friends. And I think that that's super important to realize. Trying it on stream would be hilarious. Those of you who remember a couple of weeks ago, our experience wiping on bears. And it happens, right? And it totally happens. And I think it's super important that, if you're going in on pugs, if you're going into pug this content, I think what you run into is a lot of expectation that things get done, that people show up with certain things. If you show up playing with your friends, they're more likely to be like, oh, well, we fucked up, let's do it again. And part of the problem with pugs is there's the expectation that is successful at every point. And there are some people that just don't like content with fail states in this game. There are some people that will absolutely rail against every piece of content in this game that has a fail state. And strikes have fail states. And if you're one of those people that's worried about, being inefficient and losing time wasted because you wipe on something, then yeah, you better be ready when you go into strikes, and you better be playing the meta, and you better be covering your own end, and you better be running arc DPS, etc. If you're worried about that kind of stuff, then you've got to put that time in to be worried about it. But if you're willing to wipe a few times, if you're willing to learn that, and you're with people who are willing to learn, man, there is no experience like that in gaming. It really is kind of the best. Let's see, how am I doing? Hey, 14K. Very not bad, but I am going to get smoked. Like the guy who ditched us on strike and told us we didn't deserve to have him on our group. Exactly. I'm going to, Gail, stop me, but I'm going to relate your story to the group here. Gail and I guess a guildie or two wanted to get involved in the strikes and put up an LFG saying they didn't know how to do it. And then somebody came in and offered to lead. And I guess it was after the first poll said, well, you guys are hopeless or whatever. I can't lead you or something like that. And wow, I couldn't even grasp it. And, Gail and I had a conversation about this several months ago, and it left an absolutely bad taste in her mouth about the content. And who can blame her? If that's what comes out, who can blame you for getting a little bit salty at that point? Because it's one thing to feel like you're failing at the content. It's another thing for somebody to say, well, I don't even want to help you not fail, despite the fact that, I joined your LFG for absolute green people. Just strange attitudes, but absolutely a strange attitude that is there. Oh, this guy needs some help. Let's help him. We're helping. This guy's got his tag up. We'll do it. So yeah, I thought that was an awful story and a really bad experience, but again, I don't think that that's indicative of anything more than the fact that, wow, we are getting rocked. I don't think that that's anything more than indicative of gamers. I think that gamers these days, that's part of the attitudes. I don't think it's hardcore gamers. I think that hardcore gamers are willing to wipe a few times and teach people things. I think that that's that is much more a symptom of, I'm gonna use a term here that might upset some of you, but I think that attitude is very indicative of the toxic casual. The toxic casual is the casual player who expects certain things from people. They may expect to carry. They may expect, other people to perform at a certain level that even they're not, proficient at. I think there's a lot of things to keep in mind, because most hardcore players that I've ever played with are very willing to wipe a few times and are very much more understanding about these things. I do, however, think that there's a subset of every MMO community that is worried about efficiency. And I think that efficiency concern, wow, I find that among the fake casual, the casual who is not a casual, the person who says, I just want this to be easy and fast, not I want a decent challenge kind of thing. I'm not doing very well on this at all. Windshark, why are you playing Virtuoso? You want to damage everybody? I just wanted something with some good range damage, and this was the first thing that appeared on the list. Yeah, Virtuoso. Well, this Virtuoso is actually pretty busted. This is, Condi Virtuoso, probably one of the stronger builds in general these days. An open world variant will be obviously very powerful, but for instance content and simplicity, man, I love me some Condi Virtuoso, to be honest with you. I think it's a very cool chill experience. Or if they do something like 100 KP, yeah, KP is, I have no problem with KP. I don't give KP. For me, KP is the way that I filter out the groups I don't want to play with. And I'm glad that they put it up, and I'm glad that they put up their KP requirements, because I just know what groups not to join. Because I think when somebody puts up KP, they put up a real red flag about who they are, and it's like, I want this done as soon as possible with zero problems, and I'm willing to blame everybody but myself. I think is really what I see with a lot of KP. Now, I'm not saying that that's always the case, but I think at its root, what KP is I want to play with people who are on my perceived level, and I see absolutely no problem with that. I think that that's a good thing. I think any restriction you put in your LFG is a good restriction, because I think any restriction, I think anytime you tell people what to expect when coming into your LFG is a good idea, right? So put in your KP, great. I know not to join. I don't think that there's any real interest in a KP for me beyond that. Not that I, don't have the KP. I think I actually have some KP on this tune. Look at that. Impaled Prisoner token from Samurok, right? But I would never ping it. I would never ping it. Yes, Gail, advanced degree in toxicity. Advanced degree in toxicity. Same, I avoid those groups or those that sell raids. And again, ANET's got no problem with selling raids. ANET is fine with it. And as long as it doesn't violate the rules, I have no real thought about it. Selling content. There's been a time when I thought about selling content, about like selling achievements, like I know Caddy and I could go and do Hearts and Minds on challenge mode. I know we could do that. And we could put up an ad that says, do you want Hearts and Minds on challenge mode? We will carry you through it for 20 gold. Right? And I think we'd probably get takers on that. I think we'd probably piss off a lot of people. But again, it's a question of, this is not a problem. I think buying clears is just fine. Somebody wants to buy it and somebody thinks it's worth their time, then go for it. That's one of those pieces of emergent gameplay in MMOs that I think this game has always kind of lacked. That kind of interaction between players. I'm happy to see it. So I'm fine with the raid sellers. But I'm not going to buy a raid. That to me, buying a raid guts any sense of accomplishment. Buying a raid, taking a carry, any of this. I wouldn't feel as good about that as I would by beating it, right? Other people just want the rewards. And if people want to farm that for them and for a premium, then, so be it. So be it. It doesn't really impact my play at all. This game is not one with prestige rewards. There are not a lot of prestigious rewards in this game. And acting like legendary armor is a prestige reward, it isn't. It's a standard QOL, It's what Guild Wars does best. Oh, that's it. Pin me in it. Beautiful. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about that. People want to put up their requirements. I put up requirements. I've said no longbow ranger in my strike groups, and I've said it proudly. And it's not because longbow ranger is a bad spec. It's just because I have run into a lot of longbow rangers that don't play the game, and I've said that some days I just don't want to teach people. And is that toxic? Yeah, sure, to some people, but I think what's more toxic is telling me that I can't customize my experience. And if somebody wants to take offense because I am, I don't want to play with minion mancers, then, take the offense, but don't tell me I can't play, don't tell me I can't do it. If I don't want to play with people who are playing a low effort spec, then I have the ability to say I don't want to play with people who are playing a low effort spec. It's not that they're bad people. I just don't want to see minions in the middle of my strikes or whatever. So, it's, I realize that's kind of a strange thing coming from me where generally kind of inclusive about these things. But there are points when, you know, I hit my last nerve, and the last thing I want to do is carry people. And I will say so at that point. Other points, my LFGs say, all welcome, join on your Marshall's Holosmith, play your Celestial Deadeye. I do not care. So, best longbow ranger in the game is a shortbow renegade. Actually, shortbow ranger is absolutely real. I love shortbow ranger. Shortbow Soul Beast is one that I enjoy a lot. I'm going to switch to my longbow minion master. You know, that's the thing. The worst thing that this game could do is give longbow to necromancer. Then that's all you'd see is longbow minion mancers. It would be awful. This will be our last little bounty here, and then I'll give you guys back the rest of your day. And then, yeah, it'd be, you know what? That would be the way to get people to stop playing Mechanist, is give longbow ranger to, or give longbow to necromancer. And that would be it. You'd never, you know what? Is this guy going to get stuck in the ground again? All right. We've tried to do this one before. If this guy gets stuck in the ground again, we will do it. Or the newly buffed staff for Necro. Hey, that's one I'm looking forward to playing with this week. That really is it. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, buffing staff on Minion Mancer is not going to make that build more powerful, but it's not going to make it awful. I mean, here's the thing. This patch this week, right? Like, for those of you guys who are kind of, you know, thinking about this patch this week and the changes that are being made, and specifically, I think that the changes to Staff Necro are a really good example. We're not talking about a situation where they're buffing impressive builds, right? What they're doing is looking at lowering that gap between the high performance best builds and the Papega builds. And I'm not sure that that's a bad idea. I think that Staff Necro could use some love. But then, you know, let's see a little bit of love for Dragon Hunter. Let's see a lot of love for Dragon Hunter. Let's see a patch for Dragon Hunter that you know, impacts the spec as much as that Scrapper rework did a couple years ago. Let's see a real good Dragon Hunter one. I main Necro, he'd never use staff. I never know what builds use it. I use staff. Actually, I use staff on my raid Scourge, my raid heal Scourge. And the only reason I do it is to proc regen. So what I will do is quickly swap into staff and lay down a mark that will proc regen for people. But that's the only reason I use it in PvE. In PvP, in competitive, your staff is actually a pretty useful weapon. It's really good utility and really has a lot of problems. Creates a lot of problems for people in competitive. But when it comes to, you know, oh wow, I'm just standing in that, aren't I? But really, when it comes to, you know, the standard PvE, staff's been awful. If you could just get a decent auto attack on it, and maybe that's what this week will do, then it's viable. Then it's good. You know, then we can actually start playing it, maybe in instance content or something. I'm not sure. It's really going to depend on how it plays. I'm not one of those people who's going to judge a lot of a patch prior to actually playing it. I mean, obviously, if there's something awful like those last warrior changes, those banner changes there a couple of patches ago, obviously that, you know, you can kind of make a judge on. But otherwise, I'm going to wait and see, you know, exactly how it plays before I kind of put it all out. Yes, Staff Necro deserves some love to make it feel like the rest of Necro. And really, does it need power coefficient bumps like we're getting this week, or does it need some Condi benefit? I don't know. You know, it's really going to depend on how it plays. Should have a 100% crit chance, I think. I think that's probably good. With buffs, curious to see how much he has without the buffs. Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it to a certain extent. Are we in the inside now? Yes. Okay. But, yeah. Go back out. That is not going to hit from here, is it? Nope. I tell you what, that ultimate on Virtuoso, that elite, Yeah, he's stuck in the ground for us all. Can we actually... Yeah, we got to hit with AoEs, basically. Spam your AoEs is the best way to do it. Try to be out of range so you can actually get the hit, but we'll get it. But yeah, well, Path of Fire launched how long ago, and we're still dealing with this? Where is he? He is way underground now. Well, I'm going to go over and get this chest at least. I think we'll see what happens. Wait for him to hopefully come out. Can we, do this? Does this do anything? Am I hitting? No, we are hitting nothing at this point. Thanks, ain't it? Thanks for the bug. Oh well. We are, yeah, I mean, this bounty tends to disappear every once in a while. Oh, he's back. He's back. There we go. Let's get him. This bounty gets bugged. He actually goes under the ground on one of his mechanics. And it's been like that since launch. But, you know, there he goes. One more for your Giant Slayer achievements. And there we have it. Okay, let us get here. And there we go. Wait, come back. I was gonna make espresso. Well played. All right. So I am going to call it here. At this point, we've been added a couple of points. Licentian, Midnight Caddy, thank you for joining me in-game and hard carrying my ass. Gail, Windshark, Laurentian, Ronnie, any of you guys who were here at the beginning, thank you guys so much for being here. Absolutely, as I've mentioned, the highlight of my week. Video this week and stream on Tuesday. Come and hang out on Tuesday, guys. If you have nothing better to do, we will do the Steam launch together. Hey guys, I am going to say have fun in game and min-max your real life, and we'll see you on Tuesday.